I agreed to an open marriage, but my wife is secretly seeing my best friend. The moment I saw her name pop up on his phone, paired with a message that read, "Last night was amazing," my world came crashing down. I wasn't snooping. I'd never felt the need to. Even with our open marriage, I trusted her. Or at least, I thought I did. It was a casual evening, a small get-together at our house. My best friend Jake had left his phone on the kitchen counter. When it buzzed, I glanced over instinctively, and there it was. Her name. The message. For a moment I froze, unable to process what I was seeing. My stomach churned as I reread the text, hoping I'd misunderstood. But the words were clear, and the implications hit me like a freight train. I felt a wave of emotions all at once. Anger, confusion, disbelief. My wife, Emma, and my best friend. How could this happen? How long had it been going on? Did they laugh behind my back? Did Jake smile in my face, knowing what he was doing? My hands trembled as I picked up the phone to look for more messages, desperate for answers. But before I could unlock it, Jake walked into the room. "What are you doing?" he asked, his tone light, but with a hint of unease. I put the phone down as if it had burned me, forcing myself to stay calm. "Your phone buzzed," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "It's Emma." Jake's expression faltered for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. That tiny crack in his composure confirmed everything. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. My mind raced as I replayed the moment over and over. I needed to confront her. I needed to confront him. But I also needed to breathe, to think. The betrayal felt like a knife to the gut, not just from Emma, but from Jake too. The two people I trusted most had crossed a line I didn't even know existed. Let me take you back to where this all started, the day Emma brought up the idea that changed everything. We'd been married for 10 years, together for even longer. In those early years, our connection was electric, the kind of love that made me believe in soulmates. But over time, life happened. Careers, routines, responsibilities. Somewhere along the way, we stopped being the adventurous, passionate couple we once were. I'll never forget the night Emma sat me down to talk. Her tone was calm, but her words felt like a storm brewing on the horizon. "I feel stuck," she said, looking down at her glass of wine. "I love you, but I feel like there's something missing in my life." My stomach churned. I didn't know what to say. Was she falling out of love with me? Was she thinking about leaving? "I don't want to lose you," she continued quickly, as if sensing my fears. "But I think maybe we've lost ourselves in this routine. I've been reading about open marriages, couples who explore relationships with other people while staying together. Maybe that's something we could try?" I didn't respond right away. My mind was racing. The idea of Emma being with someone else felt like a punch to the gut, but at the same time, I could see how serious she was. She wasn't suggesting this out of boredom. She was searching for something she thought we'd lost. For days, I wrestled with the idea. I loved Emma more than anything, and the thought of losing her was unbearable. So when she brought it up again, I agreed. Not because I wanted an open marriage, but because I wanted to make her happy. We sat down together and set clear boundaries. Rule 1. No emotional attachments. This was purely physical. No catching feelings. Rule 2. No involvement with mutual friends or anyone we both knew. Rule 3. Absolute honesty. No secrets. No sneaking around. "Are you sure about this?" Emma asked, her voice gentle but insistent. "I trust you," I said, even though I wasn't sure if I trusted myself to handle this. At first, the idea felt surreal. I told myself this could bring us closer, that it might reignite the spark we'd lost. I tried to see it as an adventure, a way to strengthen our relationship. But deep down, there was a knot in my stomach I couldn't ignore. I wondered if this was the beginning of the end, if I had just opened the door to something I couldn't take back. Emma, on the other hand, seemed more alive than ever. She was excited, almost glowing, as we talked about what this could mean for us. Seeing her like that reassured me, made me think that maybe this was the right decision after all. Little did I know, I had just set the stage for the biggest betrayal of my life. First few weeks after we opened our marriage, at first, it felt like walking on shaky ground, trying to navigate a world neither of us truly understood. Emma seemed like a different person, almost as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She was excited, eager, and full of energy. She threw herself into this new arrangement, with an enthusiasm that at the time I tried to see as a positive thing. But for me, it wasn't so easy. I remember downloading a dating app for the first time. It felt strange, almost like I was doing something wrong, even though Emma had encouraged me. My profile felt awkward, forced, like I was trying to sell a version of myself that didn't exist anymore. When I swiped through potential matches, I couldn't stop thinking about Emma. Meanwhile, Emma was thriving. She started going out more often, meeting new people, staying out late, and coming home with a spark in her eyes. She'd tell me stories about her dates, and I'd try to listen without letting my jealousy show. "I had a great time tonight," she'd say, her tone light and carefree. "We just grabbed a drink and talked. Nothing crazy." I'd nod and smile, but inside, my mind raced with questions I couldn't ask. Did she like him more than me? Was she comparing me to the men she met? And then there was Jake, my best friend. Jake had always been like a brother to me. We'd been through everything together: college, weddings, promotions, and setbacks. He was family, and I trusted him implicitly. Emma and Jake always got along well, but it was the kind of friendship I never questioned. As Emma started going out more, Jake would check in with me. "How's it going, man?" he asked one night, over a beer. "You good with all of this?" I appreciated his concern. "Yeah," I said, though the words felt hollow. "It's weird, but it's what Emma wants. I'm just trying to support her." He nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You're a good guy, you know that. Not everyone would be this open-minded." At the time, his words felt like a reassurance. I didn't realize they were something else entirely. The first cracks in my trust appeared subtly. Emma became more protective of her phone, keeping it close at all times. If it buzzed while we were sitting together, she'd glance at it quickly and tuck it away. I told myself it was nothing, that she just wanted some privacy. But then there were the late nights, the vague explanations. "Who were you with?" I asked one evening when she came home later than expected. "Just a friend," she replied, brushing past me with a quick kiss on the cheek. "You don't know him." I wanted to believe her. I told myself that these were just growing pains, that I was overthinking everything because the concept of an open marriage was so new to me. And then, that night, I saw the message on Jake's phone. The moment her name lit up his screen with the words, "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you," my world crumbled. I sat frozen, staring at Jake's phone, my brain struggling to process what I had just seen. Emma's name, her message, those words. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." I wanted to believe it was a mistake, some bizarre misunderstanding. Maybe she was talking about someone else. Maybe Jake's phone had been hacked. But deep down, I knew, the sick feeling in my gut, the little inconsistencies I had brushed off, the way Emma had been acting lately. It all came crashing down like a tidal wave. Jake came back into the room, completely oblivious to the turmoil raging inside me. He was carrying 2 beers, casually smiling like everything was fine. "Here you go, man," he said, setting one in front of me. I couldn't hold it in. "Jake," I said, my voice low and unsteady, "why is Emma texting you about last night?" The colour drained from his face. He froze for a moment, then quickly tried to play it off. "What? Oh, it's nothing. You must have misread it." "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice rising. "I saw the message, Jake. What the hell is going on?" His facade crumbled instantly. He looked down, guilt written all over his face. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I stood up, my hands trembling with rage. "Didn't mean for what to happen? Are you sleeping with my wife?" He didn't answer right away, which was all the confirmation I needed. My best friend, my brother, had betrayed me. I stormed out of his apartment, barely able to see straight through the haze of anger and disbelief. My thoughts were a jumbled mess. How long has this been going on? How could they do this to me? Was any of it real? When I got home, Emma was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and smiled, but her expression faltered the second she saw my face. "What's wrong?" she asked cautiously. "Don't," I snapped, throwing my keys onto the table. "Don't act like you don't know." She stood up, a look of panic flashing across her face. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the message, Emma, on Jake's phone. Last night was amazing. Care to explain?" Her mouth opened, then closed. For a moment, I thought she might deny it, but instead, she sighed and sank back onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said softly. "Find out what?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "That you're screwing my best friend? That you've been lying to me this whole time?" She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't supposed to happen. We just connected. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Hurt me?" I laughed bitterly. "You've completely destroyed me. You broke every rule we set, Emma. No mutual friends, no secrets, no emotions, and you've shattered all of them." She tried to explain, to justify it, but her words only made it worse. She said she hadn't planned for it to happen, that it started as harmless flirting and spiraled into something more. She admitted that she had feelings for Jake, and hearing those words felt like a knife twisting in my chest. "I love you," she said, her voice breaking. "I never stopped loving you. But Jake, he made me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years." I didn't know what to say. I was numb, angry, devastated, all at once. This wasn't just about the open marriage anymore. This was about betrayal by the two people I trusted most in the world. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces, Emma and Jake, laughing, smiling, sharing something that was supposed to belong to me. The betrayal gnawed at me like a wound that refused to heal. By morning, I knew I couldn't let it fester. I needed answers, closure, or maybe just a way to release the storm raging inside me. I decided to confront Jake first. I couldn't bear to look at Emma again without understanding how my best friend, the man I'd trusted with my deepest secrets, could do this to me. When I showed up at his apartment, he opened the door, his face already a mask of guilt and shame. He didn't even try to play it cool this time. "Can we talk?" he asked hesitantly. I shoved past him into the living room. "Talk? Now you want to talk? After sleeping with my wife behind my back?" He closed the door and turned to face me. "I didn't mean for it to happen, man. I swear. It just happened." "That's not good enough," I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. "How long, Jake? How long have you been seeing her?" He hesitated, and I could see him calculating whether to tell the truth or lie. Finally, he sighed. "About 2 months. 2 months. 60 days of lies and betrayal." "You were like a brother to me," I said, my voice breaking. "I trusted you. I told you everything, and this is how you repay me." He looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry," he said, but the words felt hollow, meaningless. "Sorry doesn't fix this," I snapped. "You destroyed everything. Do you even understand what you've done?" He tried to explain, saying he didn't intend to hurt me, that his feelings for Emma had caught him off guard. But I couldn't listen anymore. I left without another word, slamming the door behind me. When I got home, Emma was waiting for me, her eyes red and puffy from crying. "Did you talk to him?" she asked softly. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. She stepped closer, reaching for my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted this to happen. I didn't mean to hurt you." "Then why did you?" I asked, pulling my hand away. "Why, Emma, wasn't the open marriage enough? We set rules, boundaries, and you broke every single one of them." She looked down, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't plan this, I swear. At first, it was just nice to talk to someone who understood me, who made me feel seen. But then, it became something more, and I didn't know how to stop it." Her words felt like a slap to the face. "You didn't know how to stop it," I repeated bitterly. "You could have stopped it by saying no, by remembering that you're married, by respecting me enough not to do this." "I love you," she said, her voice breaking. "I've never stopped loving you. Please, we can fix this. We can go back to how things were." I shook my head. "How? How can we go back, Emma? How can I ever trust you again, or him?" She had no answer, just more tears and apologies that couldn't undo what had been done. That night, I slept on the couch, though slept is a generous term. My mind was spinning, replaying every moment, every red flag I'd ignored. I thought about Emma, about Jake, about the life we'd built and how easily it had been shattered. By morning, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a question of love. It was a question of trust, and trust was something neither of them had earned anymore. The days that followed felt like living in limbo. Emma tried to apologize, tried to explain, but her words didn't matter anymore. She wanted to fix things, but how do you fix something when the foundation has already crumbled? We sat down one evening to have the conversation I'd been avoiding. I was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and physically, but I knew it had to be done. "What do you want, Emma?" I asked, breaking the heavy silence. "I want us," she said, her voice trembling. "I want to fix this. I know I screwed up, but I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Her words might have meant something before, but now they just felt empty. "Do you even hear yourself?" I said, shaking my head. "You broke every rule we set. You lied to me. You didn't just have an affair, you had an affair with Jake. How am I supposed to come back from that?" She wiped her tears, looking at me desperately. "I'll end it with him. I'll do whatever you need. I don't want to lose you." Her words hung in the air, but all I could feel was the weight of the betrayal. "I don't think it's that simple," I said, quietly. "This isn't just about you and Jake. It's about trust, Emma. And I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Later that week, I met with Jake one last time. I didn't know why. Maybe for closure. Or maybe just to say goodbye to the friendship that had been such a big part of my life. We met at the same bar where we'd shared countless beers and stories over the years. But this time, the air was thick with tension. "I'm sorry," Jake said, his voice heavy with regret. "I wish I could take it back." "You can't," I said flatly. "You were supposed to be my brother, Jake. You knew how much Emma meant to me, and you still went behind my back." He nodded, looking down at his drink. "I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." I stood up, pushing my chair back. "This is it, Jake. I can't forgive you. I can't be friends with someone who betrayed me like this. We're done." He didn't try to stop me. He just nodded, accepting the consequences of his actions. As for Emma, I didn't have an answer right away. I needed space. Time to think. Time to heal. I moved out for a while, staying with my brother while I figured out what to do next. In the quiet moments, I reflected on everything that had happened. The open marriage, the boundaries we set, the rules we broke. It all felt like a cautionary tale. Love isn't enough without trust, and trust is fragile. Eventually, I made my decision. I told Emma I couldn't stay. The damage was too deep, and I needed to start over. She cried, begged me to reconsider, but I held firm. Leaving wasn't easy. Divorce papers, splitting assets, saying goodbye to a decade of memories. It was all messy and painful. But in the end, it was the only way forward. Now, months later, I'm rebuilding my life one step at a time. Therapy, reconnecting with old friends, and focusing on myself for the first time in years. It's not perfect, but it's progress. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Trust isn't something you can rebuild overnight. And sometimes, the only way to move forward is to let go of the things that broke you. Subscribe for more such stories.